can we see some noise on the chat, guys, like so that I understand? You can like ask questions or interact with me during the session. All right. I'm not sure I can see your, okay, got it. All right, cool. So let me start with the presentation then. Right, so first of all, a big thank you for the Bistec team for inviting me to do this session, and I'm excited to share my knowledge with you guys. So a little bit of overview of what I'm going to share with you in the next 45 minutes or so. First, I'm going to share you my story so far so that you understand where I'm coming from and the experience I've had so far. And then I'm going to share some things about like how I moved from doing projects to building products. And then I'm going to share some tips that I picked up along the way on that helped me to nurture a product mindset. And then I think we can open up the floor for Q&A. So if you have any questions, keep it coming through the session, and then we can take it up later on. So I've always felt that it was not my passion. So I always thought about how I can make things better, how I can make the process better. Are we building the right thing? So it kind of led me to learn about Agile and Scrum and project management. And along the line, about 2015, I had the opportunity to kind of switch to product management. And then I had the opportunity to work for a startup in Sweden called Gifted. I was the first product manager there. And after 3 years working as a product manager, when I left Gifted, we were doing about 10,000 card sales per year. And then 2019, I joined Cut+Dry as director of product. So Cut+Dry is a company that based in San Francisco and trying to disrupt the food service industry in US. So ever since 2019, I've been working with Cut+Dry and building products. So back in 2015, we were building this product, which we call a transaction platform that we plan to build that can handle any transaction needs for a customer, right? Maybe it's gift card, maybe it's transportation or whatever. But the problem was that we didn't have any customers. We were building a vision that the founder has. The thought process was like, if we build this, the customers would come, right? We worked for about 1 year. We were still not completed with the whole product. But around that time, we figured this is not going to work. And then there was a crisis in the project, where there was a need for a product manager. So I was interested in that. So I put my hand up, said, okay, I am willing to take this up. Even though I said I volunteered, I didn't have much experience on building products. So I was coming from a project background. So it was a daunting task at the beginning. You own a product, you are responsible for a product, and there's a lot of jargon out there. So it was not easy. So what I did was I started applying what I knew. So which is Agile and Scrum practices. But I worked for about 6 months as a product manager there, but at the end of the 6 months, we still didn't have any customers. We haven't, we were not in a place to process a single transaction through our product. So the product was a failure. So the founders decide like, okay, like this is not working. So we need to be more focused. So that's where we build Gifted. So what we did differently with Gifted was that we started with MVP. We built a mobile app, a backend to go with it within 3 months, and we managed to acquire 20 customers, merchants within that time to validate our hypothesis. And instead of thinking like building what we want, we started focusing on talking to customers, understanding their pain points, and then guide that, let that guide our development efforts. So we were still using Scrum. We were still using 2 weeks, but the difference was that we were more customer oriented, and we were more into solving the pain points of the customers that works in our business way. So the difference between first and the second attempt being a product manager was that it was not purely at first it was purely about delivery, but then when we started Gifted, we shifted towards the outcomes and then meeting customer pain points. The focus was on customers. And then I started working with Cut+Dry in 2019. And when I joined Cut+Dry, I discovered a whole new way of building products. So the setup with Cut+Dry is that you have these small teams with product managers and engineers, typically 1 product manager and 3 to 5 engineers, and they own a piece of the product or a specific product. And then they have objectives, quarterly objectives that they're trying to meet. So it's up to the team to kind of go and understand what to build and make those objectives a reality. So at Cut+Dry, we don't have business analysts, project managers, or QA engineers. And today we release to production multiple times a day. And what we've achieved so far at Cut+Dry, I want to share this information with you because sometimes what I'm going to share with you can feel like it's a fairy tale, that this cannot be reality. But I'm sharing this so that you understand that it has worked for us. So right now we have about 2,000 active restaurants on our platform. We have a product used by more than 10 distributors. And then we are doing a pilot with 10 of the largest manufacturers in the world. So now I want to go into the section where I want to discuss the tips that I've picked up along the way. But one disclaimer is that these tips work if you are trying to build a SaaS product, SaaS digital product. If you are trying to build a rocket ship, this might not be applicable. So that's a disclaimer I need to put first. So the first thing is you need to understand this is our baby. As a team, as a product team, this product is your baby. So if you are working in a project environment, if you lose a project, yes, you might lose some revenue, but you can always find another project. But if you are working in a product company, if the product fails, we all fail. So if you have been following up the tech news lately, you have seen there's a lot of layoffs going on around the world in product companies. So that's because as a companies they haven't become successful. So there's real implications of a product being a failure. So the stakes are high when you have a product. And next thing is are we willing to do whatever it takes to make it successful? So when you are working in projects, most of the time we have these designated roles I'm a software engineer, I'm a QA engineer, or I'm a BA. and this is my job description. So I'm not going above or beyond that. So that mindset would not work with product, because you need to be able to wear multiple hats and do things that is not in your job description. I can remember, like, when I was working with the Gifted, majority of my time was spent at Animate. So at that time we were printing gift cards in Sri Lanka, and then we were posting it out to Sweden. So I was working with Animate to get those stuff done, make sure that everything goes well, and then go and post it out through the post office. So somebody can think like this is not the product manager's job, but what that experience gave me was that when the time came to automate this whole process, I knew exactly what to be built. So having that first-hand experience paid off. And then the other one is that, do we personally care for our team, users, and customers? So if you don't care for your customers personally, you actually cannot empathize with their situation. So unless you understand where they are coming from, the hardships they are having, you cannot build solutions that fixes those problems. Same with the team. So sometimes we are very empathic about our customers, we try to understand them, but we don't do the same for our team. So it's important that we do the same for our team as well, understand their lives personally, where they are coming from, the hardship they've gone through, so that we understand when we are working with somebody where they are coming from. The next startup, the most precious resource you have is time. So you have limited resources, you have limited budget, you have a limited runway. So you cannot be doing 100 things. So you need to focus on what's the most important thing at that given time for your company. So you need to set up a North Star goal. And then you need to think with your team, what do we need to reach our goal? So you need to come up with the strategy. Okay, these are the 5 or 10 things that we need to do to reach our goal. And then everyone in the team needs to question back whatever they are doing, how is it relevant to our objective or the North Star goal. If you are an engineer, like, you should be able to question, why am I building this feature? How does it tie back to our goal? So when you have that culture of questioning back, you kind of create that everybody is focused on the goal and you are not straying away from that goal. So it's very important that you build a culture where it's important and it's encouraged to question, not even at a feature level, but also like, is it the right customer segment? Is it the right strategy? So it's very important for the leadership also to kind of encourage that behavior. And then the mindset for question everything, right? Let's say this is something I learned from my previous CEO at Gifted. So when I first joined product management, he made me build a small prototype where I had to do wireframes and mockups, and he would question everything, right? Like, why are you putting that button here? Why are you using this copy? Why is this color? So as a person, you have to, like, when you are making decisions, you need to have a basis why you are doing something, because when you have a reasoning behind your decisions, you can have a discussion with somebody else. If you don't have a reasoning behind your decisions, it's like arguing about religion, right? Like, I always like my religion and you will like your religion, right? So it's important that we put thought behind everything we are doing. The color, the buttons, even at a code level, why are we doing in this way? So if you have that questioning mindset, over the time you will start doing that, like, it will come intuitively for you. So the other one I want to talk about is outcomes over outputs. So when we are working with outsourcing nature, or like we are working with a project, we really don't care much about what happens to the features we deliver. It's all about delivering features that the client requires, and our job is to kind of deliver those features. But when you are working with the product, you need to question back, is like what we are delivering, are we reaching our goals to those? So if not, we need to go back and say like, okay, what we did didn't work, so we need to think of something else. So when you set outcomes or outputs, we might not be able to achieve those outcomes in the first go, but when we are focused on that, we will always come back and see, okay, if this feature moves the needle for us. And then when you are like building a feature or a product, it's important that you set up the metrics to understand if the feature is behaving as we want. So at the time of building the feature itself, set up the metrics that you want to track, and then come back and reflect on those metrics, see if they have achieved what you wanted to set for. If not, you keep on iterating. So the next thing is like build, measure, iterate. This is coming from Lean Startup. So at Cut+Dry, one thing that we are doing good, I feel, is that every feature is an MVP. So everything we build, we try to build the simplest version as the first version. If the simplest version solves the customer pain point, we put it out, and we get real customer feedback, and then start iterating on it. If you are thinking about a feature and if it's taking few weeks for you to build it, I feel you are complicating things. You can always come up with a simplified version. So the goal is to kind of build something simple that solves the customer pain point, put it out there, see if it's working, and keep on iterating. So the other benefit of like doing this in small increments is that if something doesn't work, you could always revert back. You can easily revert back to the earlier stage. And then, as I said, like you always need to measure what's being sent out. Is it working? Or like, if not, like you keep on iterating until you reach your goals. So this one is like a famous quote, like perfect is the enemy of good. So as humans, I think we all try to do the best we can, right? But it can actually be a negative thing if you are in a startup, because the more you try to perfect things, the more it takes, the more effort it takes. So what I've experienced from with working with customers is that if we are solving an unmet customer need, they actually don't care how the UI looks like or how shiny it is. They just need to get the stuff done. So something I recently experienced with this like fuel pass and all that, there was a huge backlash on the system is not tested and all that stuff. But if you really think about it, did the whole nation need to get that pass on the same exact hour, right? You could have like done it with like a very simple system where you just allocate a day to get that pass, right? So there, like, you just need to be creative on how you solve things. You just always doesn't need to be like heavy architectural changes or anything like that. You could test stuff with simple methods. So the next point is like for a startup, what you are trying to do is like you are trying to learn, because you are startup because you are trying something nobody else have tried out. So your main goal is to learn from your customers, right? The more you sit on your features trying to perfect things, you lose the chance of learning from those customers. So if you are think, let's say one team is doing Scrum and they are doing releases every 2 weeks, and there's another team who releases every day, right? In a week, the team that releases out features every day will learn 5 times more than the team that releases weekly, right? So it's important to have this mindset, like put it out there, learn from the customer, and then iterate on it. So the other one I want to talk about a little bit about the processes. If you have been following the software, like software engineering practices over the time, when Agile was first introduced, it was revolutionary from Waterfall, right? Like it was a big improvement. At Waterfall, like you would take 6 months to build something and push it out, but with Agile you could do it with 2 weeks, right? But you need to have this mindset. It's not a state that you are like, if you are like releasing every 2 weeks, that, like, it's not that you achieve that state. You need to go beyond that. So for a startup, waiting 2 weeks to test something is too long in my mind. So try to achieve, like set up something like Kanban, where you could release out features quickly and then test it out. And then like as a leadership team, I think for startups, you need to set up a team structure where the teams are empowered to be like take decisions, because the teams who are closest to the customers know what's best for the customers. So if you have like a very hierarchical process where the top management take decisions and then push it down, it takes a lot of time to make decisions. So the more decision making power that the lower level teams have, the better, in my mind. And then this is something I've seen a lot of time, like people creating Jira tickets or tools in general. They get attached to tools, and then the focus is on tools but not the outcomes. So if you can fix a bug or like add a feature by just talking to your colleague, do that. You don't need to create a Jira ticket to change the button color, right? So you need to like find that balance, when to use the tool and when not to. Same with engineering, like if you see a bug that you can fix now, don't put it on Jira and put it on backlog. You fix it now. So you need to have like nurture that mindset where you fix things without postponing, or like you use like less tools to get stuff done. So you need to have that mindset. And I want to add this slide especially for leaders of startups, because I feel like a lot of times we feel like, okay, if one of our employees leave, we can hire another one, right? But what I've learned throughout the years is that employees are your biggest asset, and you need to hire competent employees, but you also need to give them space. You need to hire people who are better than you and let them do their job. And then a lot of teams, like I've seen, is that they are given a roadmap. They have already identified these are the solutions that would cater to these problems, which we all know that it's not true, right? So instead of giving a roadmap, give problems to solve for your teams and let them come up with the solution and let them drive the development. And then with empowered teams, a lot of people think that you don't like you need less management. It's not the case. You need better management. You need to coach your people. You need to work closer to them, like unblock them and help them in any ways that they can achieve their goals. So I feel like there's what you need is better management. So I think Sandun in the previous session also talked about this, a similar approach, but this is like a formal framework that's it was invented in, I think, in Intel and then popularized by Google. So objects and key results. So the framework is like you set a quarterly goal for your product. You have only one objective, like you don't have multiple objectives, you have just one objective. And then you decide, okay, like if we meet this objective, what the success looks like. So that's where like you bring in the key results. So let's say if you want to be, yeah, I can't think of an example on this, but yeah, so you need to decide, okay, what do we need to achieve this quarter? And then what the success looks like if we achieve this objective. And then like this framework is best for like setting up stretch goals. So if you are like trying to do something revolutionary that nobody else have done earlier, it's good to use this technique. And then the most important thing is like weekly check-ins, the review part, as Sanun said. So you need to come back and like check whether are we going in the right direction, or like do we need to course correct. And then yes, a little bit of a few things that helped me to learn this stuff. One is the lean startup. It talks about all the lean method of product building and all that. And then Inspire talks about how you do product discovery, product management, how do you build products in a good way that solves customer pain points as well as your business needs. And then Radical Focus discusses the OKR framework. How can you set up teams to achieve stretch goals? Yeah, that's pretty much it on the presentation. So I think we can go for the Q&A session. So I think Chandima has a question like, what about the quality? So it depends on it depends on the situation, Chandima, in my mind. So if you are talking about a product who has 2 customers, you really don't care about the quality, I feel. But if you are like in a mission critical system where you are like handling financials and all that, you need a little bit of like, not little bit of quality, you need quality. So it depends on product to product, but majority of the products, I think there's now a lot of good practices where you could automate quality assurance. So you need to build like bring in those practices and then make sure that you have a process or like a infrastructure to achieve like faster delivery times. So I hope I answered that question for you. Right. Any other questions, guys?
Can I ask? It's not easy to type.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm Tariq. I also have done a few products, but on one of your first few slides, you mentioned, I can't remember if you can just go back a little. You have mentioned that you don't need PMs and things like that. Roles. Yeah, this one. Yeah, we don't need business analyst PM role. Now, since I have done also, just to clarify whether my thinking is also the same. Now and I'm a tech lead. As a tech lead or even as an architect or you're a senior software engineer, we have to come out of what our role is. We should think like a software engineer. We more or less, I feel, when it comes to a product, we have to think like the customer. We have to think what the customer wants, because I have and we have to be open-minded in being able to speak to them and understanding what they want, not doing what we want. I think most of the products fail because software engineers do what they want and not what the customer wants end of the day. Because with experience, I have spoken to like what I said, a Norwegian client. When I spoke, he said a very old version, they were very happy. Then I said, we have all the latest technologies. We were using aka.net. No, that is all for your satisfaction. None of the customers are happy. That's what he said. So we had actually over-engineered. But when I was the only person who went and spoke to him. He was seated in a corner. He was supposed to be customer's relation manager or something like that. So I just went and had a chat with him, and only then he opened up. He said, no, I want to go do some fishing, not talk to anybody. He was so stressed up. So I feel, yes, is that what you meant by this? So that every individual developer has to speak to the client and know what the client wants. Is that correct? So because we blindly go on building based on the requirement we get now. Even now, since I made other two, I had the opportunity to sit and talk with them. They understand why they hate that product, why they hate this product. So that open mind has to come. So in normal product, what is it? Somebody gives us the requirement. We don't know who the user is. We don't know why the user wants this. So we are blind to, actually there is like sort of a big wall in between us.
Yes.
This is what you don't want to have in product building. Is that correct?
Yeah, couldn't agree with you. Like I couldn't agree more with you, Risa, because what customers want is to solve their pain points, right? They don't care about what the technology we are using underlying, whether it's like microservices or whatever. Like for them, it's about how this product is solving my product, like a pain point, right? But in if going back to your question, like this particular topic is how we operate as a company. So we don't have these roles, like we don't have people doing these roles, not doing these roles, but more like we don't have people with these designations, because like what I have learned is like the setup we have is, it's very simple, right? Like you have product managers and then you have engineers, and engineers are like part of like responsible for doing their QA part of it as well. And then product managers are responsible for bringing in the value and the viability part. If you take building a product, it's four things that we are trying to do, right? What we are building needs to be valuable, it should be viable, it should be feasible, and it should be usable, right? So product managers bring in the value in terms of like whether it's valuable and viable, and then engineers bring in the fact that whether it's feasible, whether can we build this product, and then the designers bring in whether we can build this in a way that it's usable for the customers, right? So what I have felt was that when we have business analysts, project managers, QA engineers, it kinds of there's a lot of handoffs, right? So product manager gives requirements to business analyst. There's a project manager separately to kind of look at how the project delivery is, and then there's a specialist person to QA stuff. But when you have like what have worked for us is that we take ownership as a team, right? So, and the other thing is that like every team has a limited scope, like they are only focusing on part of the product, so that they know in and out what's going on, and they are very customer facing as well. So when you have like less handoffs, you can get stuff done easier. I'm not sure whether
yeah. Thanks. You answered my question. And then one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
On can you move to the next slide? No, one after that. One with that. There were kind of. No, next, please. No, again. No, this was kind of a methodology which you were talking about.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Right. Okay. In this one, you said set quarterly objectives. How do you exactly set your objectives? Now you are building a new product, and actually, I really agree on pushing things out quickly so that then you identify where things are going. But then, how do you set objectives? How do you know? Because you are still this experimental. That part I'm not clear. How you can set yourself?
Yeah. Let's say let's take a hypothetical situation where like somebody is building a startup, right?
Yeah.
So as a startup founder, you need to have a goal, right? You are not doing something like out of the blue, right? Like you have some objective. So let's say you have the goal of like, okay, I want to build something, or let's say like I want to build a payment platform, right? That might be the vision of the company, right? And then you cannot actually like, so normally vision is like 3 to 5 years out, right? So you need to figure out, okay, how I'm going to get there. So you need to come up with the strategy. So you might say, okay, like, so this first year, I'm going to focus on building a payment solution for this particular customer segment, right? So once you have that clarity, okay, this is the strategy I'm going to do, and then this is what I'm going to execute on this time frame. You clearly know what you want in this quarter. And then you look at, okay, like if we, let's say you want to roll this out to Sri Lankan market or whatever, right? And then, okay, if we successfully roll this out, what would be the success looks like? You can say like, okay, our product is used by 1,000 customers and we are getting a revenue of 100K. You can set those, like objective is more of a visionary thing, but the key results are concrete metrics. You either hit it or not. So you then look at, okay, what do I need to do to move the needles for these key results? So then you every week ask that question. What do we need to do this week to meet our goals? Maybe it's to partner, like go and talk to a partner to partner up, or like build this feature out, reach to this customer. So you define like what are the most important things you need to do for each week, and then you try to achieve that. And then you next week come and say, okay, did we meet our like objectives, like goals for the last week? If not, what happened? Like you do a retrospective, and then you keep on iterating until you get your goals.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Got it. Let me see.
I asked a question, Chathuraka. I think you answered part of it. Like, how do you get the product dev team to know what the customer wants? Like, what techniques to use? I guess there's multiple ways of doing that, but it probably would be a bit of a mess if all the developers talk to the clients. Like, what are the rules and what do you do? What are the practices?
Yeah. So it's always like good to include engineers in customer discussions if it's possible, because then like so there's a concept called I can't remember, like but the trick is that you do interviews, your like discussions with customers, with your designer, with your engineer and the product manager, because these three people bring in different aspects, so like different perspectives. So when customer is telling, okay, I have this problem, product manager might be thinking, okay, how do I build the feature, or how do I bring value to this, or whatever, right? But the engineer might thinking, okay, there's a technical solution for this that we can use already, or something like that. And then the designer might think this is the way the UI should look like, and he's thinking from the design perspective. So which creates like more creativity on the features that's been built. And then when you have like multiple partners joining for these interviews, it's not like product manager telling you what to do, right? You collaboratively come up with a solution, because else it's pretty easy for the product manager to say like, okay, this is what the customer told, so go and build this, right? But when you do it as a team, you cannot do that, because like everybody has been part of the discussion, so everybody knows what the customer requested. So it's about more collaboratively come up with a solution to solve the needs.
Yeah. So they are involved in the discussions.
Yes.
How does also like when you start doing campaigns and stuff for marketing, they also have to plug into this same thinking,
yes.
right?
Yes.
How does that happen?
Yeah. So what we do at Cut+Dry is, Johan, is that we have a weekly meeting with the teams, and marketing teams are there as well. Like, so the official role for this is like product marketing manager, who's kind of bridging the gap between product and the marketing and the sales teams. So he's the one who's involved. Let's say if you don't have this role, let's say you get one person from marketing and say like you are responsible for working with this product team, right? So every week you would come and see, okay, what are the objectives? What are we building? What can I do from marketing side to achieve these OKRs? Because both product team and the marketing team need to have the same objectives. It can't be two things. So what the marketing team member would do is like understand what's being built this week or the next like week after, and then work with the broader marketing team. Okay, they are building something like this. Can we build a campaign around it? Or like you go and talk with your sales team and say like, okay, the presentation needs to have this language and all that. So there's a good book, Johan, called Loved. I can send you the details. It talks about particularly about this role, product marketing manager.
Super. Loved, right?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that all the product development teams have to should read these books?
I don't think like everybody needs to read about this, Johan, but I think somebody in the organization, like you need to find somebody in the organization who's passionate about improving your processes, learning about what's out there, what are the best practices, and then share it with others. Because like it's not practical. Like everybody doesn't love reading books. Everybody like doesn't want to think about improving processes, right? Maybe the passion of an engineer is to kind of how do I do engineering better, or like how do I do the platforms better. But you need to have somebody in the team where like who's passionate on these aspects as well.
Super, thanks.
Shandim, about your like daily releases, the daily releases, like it doesn't burn out when it's small, because like let's say you build, like let's say you change a text of the button, right? You push it up, like we are talking about very small increments. Like you take the first version, like it's more about like coming up the simplified version and then pushing it out. So once you have that culture built, it doesn't burn you out actually. Like I would say like it's better than having like scheduled releases, because there's no pressure of like a deadline. So you do something, you push it out, and then you work with the product manager to kind of start measuring stuff.
So you don't have a concept of releases, or do you?
Not planned releases. Like the concept we have is like the engineer takes something from the queue, put it like build it, put it out. Let's say like if it's an important feature or a what do you call, important feature that you think, okay, there's a big impact on this, so we might need to test it on staging. Then we would like communicate that at the beginning of like when we are writing the ticket or like conveying the requirement, and then they would like test it on staging and then push it out. But to be honest, like for us, we didn't have a staging environment like until 1 year or so. Like, so we were like continuously pushing it out for production.
Understood.
So one of the key things that why product fails is because you don't talk to your customers. So in my mind, like I feel like we are not understanding what the problem customer is having. Most of the time, I think like as Risa said, like we are building what we think customer wants, not what actually customer wants. So it's important, like it's very important, I would say, like spend time with your customers, understand what their pain point, and then also like we are not doing a charity, right? You need to figure out how we make money out of this. So it needs to fix a customer pain point, but also like it should work for the business as well. And there's, I think, like there's a lot of places that can go wrong, like you don't have a proper team, you don't have proper leadership. Yeah, there's ton of things that can go wrong in product.
Yeah, sometimes like when the customer when the customer doesn't know that, you know, this problem can be solved until he sees something kind of thing.
Yes.
Then only he knows that there's a problem like this. When he knows that the problem, there's no solution inside. So we're building something, but that first release is something that he needs to see to identify it, kind of a, you know. So that first year probably is the key.
So Johan, on that, so you could always prototype stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like what software products does is actually like digitizing it, right? But the underlying problem is like it's not maybe a digital problem that you need to solve. So you could always prototype or like hack through to understand are we solving a real problem for the customer. So let's say like if you think like you need to wait until 1 year to put something out there and test it out with customers, then like you are like missing out about learning opportunities a lot, right? Like you are waiting 1 year to test it something, right? Yeah. Instead, like you could do prototypes, like there's a bunch of things you could do to validate your problem.
Yeah. Understood.
On scalability, I think you like it depends, right? It's not a single answer, right? Like you need to decide, okay, if you are only having 2 customers, do you is it really worth to come up with this big infrastructure to support that? So I think it needs to go hand in hand. The scalability thing like needs to go in hand with the number of customers and what the business model that you have. So the more customers you have, then you will have more resources to kind of fund that big platform as well. So it might mean that you might need to rewrite the platform, but it's better than like building something upfront and then having no customers. So Dara, on your question, so you have like coding standards, right? So on a coding level or a security level, you need to have standards and you have best practices. So you need to handle those. And then when it comes to performance testing also, it depends on the number of customers and the type of system that you have. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 or 2,000 customers and the way your product behaves is not very performance insensitive, you don't need to like focus on that area that much. So you need to figure out like what's more important for our product. What are we not compromising when we are pushing things out? Is it the security? Is it the performance? So most of the SaaS products, I feel like lot of like the security and all that comes with frameworks, right? So you don't need to do special stuff for that. But it's more about like if you take the functional aspects of it, like if you actually solving a pain point, customers don't mind having 1 or 2 bugs. I'm telling this to you by experience because we have a customer who's inside our Slack channels as well, who reports us bugs. So if he sees something, he would tell us. So so if you the flip side of it is that if you have this mindset, okay, everything that needs to go out should be perfect, then you are creating a ripple effect. Like, so then you have, okay, nothing can go out with a bug, and then you have QA persons to it, and then the QA persons would say like, okay, I am responsible for sending out releases, so I need to be very thorough. And then the QA would say, okay, like, for me to be thorough, like, I need to have proper documentation on this, so I need to know what exactly that goes into the feature. And then it would come back to the product manager or the project manager, like BA, where they need to specify everything. So when you have that, when you build that culture, like, you are adding a lot of overhead. But if you have a culture where, like, okay, if something goes wrong, we deal with it, we go forward, then people are not afraid to do experiments. So like, do things faster. It's a matter of managing it. That's how we actually do that.
Okay.
Did I miss anything? Okay, Anupama had a question. So if we don't have customers in the beginning, and we are trying to build a product, I would say find the customer first. Because if you don't have a customer, if you don't know, like, like, unless you are building something like iPhone or something like that, where, like, you are revolutionizing the ecosystem. If you are, like, talking about a SaaS product, I think you need to find your first customer. Like, as you are building it, you need to validate what you are building with your customer. That's why, like, my first product as a product manager failed, because we didn't have any customers. We thought, okay, if we build this, the customers would come, but that's never the case. Like, it's much more efficient to build with the customers. So on the technologies, Chandima, I think what our engineering team does is, like, they pick the technology that suits the objectives. So they don't, like, they are not restricted by a particular technology set. They would use whatever, like, whatever they are available to get this stuff done. But I'm not the best person to, like, give advice on the technical stuff. All right, any more questions?
I think you'll probably get some calls, Chathuraka.
I'm happy to help, as always.
So yeah, kind of quite interesting because we understand the pain points and the mistakes and everything, and so your speech is extremely relevant to hopefully the team. Of course, for me, for sure, because I missed the first one that you did, but we didn't understand anything because you're, you know, starting the journey then. But now, since we are in the middle of it, I think the team would really relate to some of the thoughts and the points that you brought. So thank you very, very much for your time, for sharing your knowledge and experience. And we're happy that and you are just call away, and you can, call and bug you more, I guess, with this same thoughts. So a big thank you from Bistec and the organizing team for your excellent speech and presentation and sharing of your knowledge.
Thanks, Johan.
So
Thanks for inviting me in the first place, and I'm always happy to help.
absolutely, I think we should do this. It should go. We would put this online as well. So hopefully there's more people going to get benefited from it. Yeah. So Tara, are we done with the questions, or Tara, are you there? Okay. Right. So
All right.
are we done with the session? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah. So thank you, Chaturaka. Thanks for everything, and would also like to extend a special thanks to the team for all the effort that was put into organizing this. Thank you very much, and kudos to everyone for awesome job done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is a great initiative, Johan. Keep it going. I think you emphasizing on this continuous learning thing is really good. And
Yeah.
as a company, I think you should keep on doing this.
Thank you very much. OKR is the next challenge that we will probably need to take on organization wide, but let's
Get that book, Johan, Radical Focus.
Yes, I wrote it down.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple book to read, but it's really powerful. And
awesome.
you'll most of the time you'll fail in the first attempt, but you have to keep on doing it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. But thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, Chaturaka. All the very best.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.